Okay. What have you done? Oh, God. By the way, this is not sponsored by Rain. So, I played Sonic Lost World recently. For the first time ever. Never played it before, but I've recently been playing it, I beat it, and now I know what all the fuss is about. Now, before I played Sonic Lost World, I had been watching some footage online of other people playing it. And this game has a history of being a mixed bag of a game. Some people like it, some people don't. In general, it is not necessarily a positively reviewed game in the history of the Sonicverse. But watching footage of this game, it didn't seem all that bad to me. From what I was watching online, I thought that this looked like a decent time. It seemed like the presentation of it is pretty much immaculate. Like, Sonic Lost World is one of the best looking Sonic games out there, and its vibe is very much that whimsical, happy-go-lucky vibe that feels very much akin to what Super Mario Galaxy 2 felt like. Presentationally, Sonic Lost World seems like a pretty good game from the outside looking in. The problem with it, though, is when you actually pick up a controller with your two hands and you actually play the game yourself. That is where everything breaks loose. Now I understand. I understand now why this game has such a mixed bag of a history with people. Now I understand why... Oh dear God. So here's the thing about Sonic Lost World. In my opinion, I actually don't agree with what people are saying about this game. I don't agree that it's a mixed bag. I think it's a terrible game. It's a terrible, terrible game with very little redeeming value to it. If there's one thing Sega has been very good about with their games, with their Sonic games, it's they're very good at making a good first impression. But see, that's where they get you. That's where Sega gets you every single time. They convince you that their game's going to be good by making it look good. But Sonic Lost World, let me tell you something. It is one of the worst to control Sonic games of all time. It's the most anti-movement Sonic game out there. You know, the whole point of Sonic games, I feel like, should be to gain and maintain momentum, to build speed and to maintain that throughout its run so that you can experience the adrenaline rush of being able to maintain this fast-moving guy through these platforming challenges and through these obstacle courses. But I feel like Sonic Lost World does everything in its power to stop you from doing that. And that is the number one cardinal sin of any Sonic game. And Sonic Lost World just shamelessly does that. You have your trigger buttons, right? And the right trigger button is designed for you hold that button down when you want Sonic to move fast. If you just want Sonic to move normally, you don't hold down the trigger button. You just move him. And when you do that, Sonic moves at the pace of a snail. When you hold down the right trigger, that's when Sonic he moves at a faster pace. And a majority of players are probably just going to hold down right trigger constantly to make him move at that pace. That's pretty much what I did for 90% of the game, because hell no, I'm not going to allow Sonic to move at that slowly of a pace any longer than I need to in a game like this. This is a Sonic game. What do you think I'm going to do? And when you jump with him, he has an extremely stiff and underwhelming jump that doesn't feel natural to the player. It just doesn't feel good when you're trying to move him in midair, you know what I'm saying? Like, something as simple as jumping between two platforms that have nothing trying to stop me. I'm literally just trying to jump from platform A to platform B. Yeah, so Sonic's controls in general are the worst thing ever in this game. It is the most unnatural scheme you've ever seen, and it feels just terrible and awful, and all of those things. This game will also try to mix things up based on like the layout of the level that you're playing. You will have levels that are almost exclusively 2D side-scrolling. You will have levels that are exclusively 3D behind the back of Sonic camera. You will also have levels where Sonic is floating through the midair and you have to dodge things as you're flying around. The behind-the-back Sonic levels, where it's just all 3D, are usually having you auto-running as if this were some sort of mobile game. Or you will be running down these tubes where you have to dodge stuff and you're like running in a circular fashion to dodge things as well as to find new paths. And that is very much not fun. I mean, how many enemies am I going to have to run into? How many speed boosts am I going to have to run off of just for myself to not go very fast? And how many times are you going to force me to have to use the Wisp power-ups from Sonic Colors, which, by the way, are such a downgrade from Colors, and also half of them are stupid and shouldn't exist in this game. Oh god. Now we gotta talk about the homing system. The homing system in Sonic Lost World is broken. It's just broken. The idea is that whenever you come across an enemy and you jump into midair, there's going to be this little red target that shows up on the enemy. And if there are multiple enemies, you have to give it an extra second for it theoretically to target all of the enemies in front of you with that little red target. But it doesn't work half the time. You can jump in front of any group of enemies in front of you, and either it just won't target all the enemies in front of you, or it'll only target some of them. Or it will target them, but then for whatever reason the target will just go away. It just doesn't work half the time. Every boss fight in this game wants you to use this targeting system. It is forcing you to use this targeting system. The targeting system is broken, and it doesn't work half the time, but this game insists on you using it and forces you to use it all the time, and oh god. Oh, of course, leave it to Sonic Lost World to have that one level that has just like awesome music. Of course, man, of course. These grind rail levels are so dumb. They're so boring and slow. Seriously, they're not fun at all though. I'm being 100% serious. They're not. He's very slow. Like, I've never seen Sonic grind this slow before. It's just like whoosh. Meanwhile in the background, you know, you got him playing like bum, 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 bum. Oh god. Every Sonic game, no matter how bad it is, always has to have that one just amazing sounding song in it, which is like these last few levels are terrible too, by the way. Like, they're so overly long, and you have to listen to the Zeti like say some bullshit and talk shit, and it's really annoying. None of them are funny. They're all stereotypes. You got the fat one, you got the emo one, you got the leader who doesn't sound like how he should, and then you have the female who's literally her entire personality is that she's a female. So yeah, I mean, like, where's Knuckles and Amy at, huh? Oh, they're just hanging out on Earth doing literally nothing and just being, you know, being flanderized versions of themselves, as you'd expect. Talk about a low-budget flight. Oh yeah, and can we talk about this boss fight right here? Like, how are you supposed to know after you've hit him and he's like, whoa, you guys, like dangling off the edge of the map, about to fall off? How are you supposed to know that you're supposed to use that stupid kick maneuver or whatever before you, like, can kill him? Like, I probably spent a good solid half an hour trying to figure out how to defeat this boss. And there's a boss gauntlet that happens at some point here where you're fighting like 3 or 4 of these dudes, and you know, oftentimes boss fights in this game will either be a joke or they will just be so obtuse that it's not even fun to play anymore. Okay, yeah, and let's talk about Hidden World. So, as with a lot of video games, when you defeat the main game, oftentimes there will be an extra set of levels that you unlock after you defeat the main campaign. And Sonic Lost World is no different. Sonic Lost World has Hidden World, where you have 4 extra levels that are based in like this otherworldly kind of setting that's outside of, you know, the universe of the actual game. You know how levels like this go. We've seen this before. And these levels, you would expect them to be some of the most fun and interesting levels in the game, right? Because it's Hidden World. This is where, you know, the game developers can really experiment with this formula they've created for this game and really create some levels that just really have, like, you know, they really like put their whole self into, you know, they really experimented, very experimental and fun to play. But these levels are the most underwhelming like last world of the game levels ever, and they're completely pointless. You got the first level here where you have to hit these colored boxes off the map, and each time you hit one off of the map that you're on, you get 10 extra seconds. And I guess the idea of it is to just keep hitting the boxes so that you keep getting extra time, and then the more boxes you hit, the more flickies you collect. But what is the point of this? Is this some sort of like, you know, like it's a time type challenge where you just have to keep going and going as long as you can until the time runs out. But there's no exponential increase in difficulty. Like you would expect more boxes to show up that you have to hit within a certain time frame, and it just slowly ramps up in difficulty, right, until you run out of time. But that never happens. You can just sit here and just grind forever if you want, seemingly. When I first played this, I sat here for 10 minutes hitting these boxes over and over again, waiting for it to get more challenging or more interesting, which it never did. And I feel like I wasted 10 minutes of my life that I'll never get back. So thanks for that. Oh, cool, you can fly around his tails in his tornado. Yeah, so this level is nothing special. You're just racing to the finish, and you have to dodge enemies as they show up, and you have to grab the timer to keep the time going, and it's like, why? And then you got a platforming gauntlet in World 3 where these cubicle platforms will be color-coded and either disappear on you or will start moving automatically, and there's just a lot of standing around and waiting around to get to the next platform, and it's not challenging enough for me to really remember much about it outside of that. Oh god. And then we have the last world. Now, as far as I'm aware, this is the last level in this whole game. This is where everything is supposed to come together. And what did they have you do? They don't have you running or going fast because you're Sonic. They have you standing still on these bubbles where when you jump off of them, the bubble pops and whatever the item inside of the bubble was goes flying the opposite direction. And you just have to keep doing this on repeat until you reach the goal. This is the last world of Hidden World, and seemingly the last level of the game as far as I'm aware. Here's the last thing I'll say about Sonic Lost World. Even if you play the game enough to a point where you can master this game's jankiness, where you can get comfortable with this fragile, clunky ecosystem of a control scheme. Once you get enough practice with this game where you can get good enough at it, in theory, doesn't that mean that you can now run through these levels at a consistent pace and be comfortable enough to maintain consistent momentum through every level to the point where you're breezing through it, and in turn having more fun with the game? No, because here's the thing. Even if you can master all this game's jankiness and you can get comfortable with it, the base game that exists underneath all of that garbage is still not that fun. Like, Sonic Lost World is not a fun game on its own if you subtract the bad controls. Even if you were to give this game better controls, it still would just be kind of a meh experience, because running through these levels is not nearly as satisfying as running through levels in better Sonic games, quite frankly. Like, there's so many enemies that are stopping you. There's so many obstacles that deliberately go out of their way to halt your momentum. And the layout of these worlds is just not conducive to a consistent experience of gaining and maintaining momentum. So even if you can get past all of the garbage that this game throws at you, and you can like master it to a point where you can run through it decently, it is still not a fun game to play on its own. So, what are we doing here? Oh yeah, one last thing. Sega, please stop with the pinball stuff. Please, I'm begging you. If you jump into a certain part of this level, the casino level in this game, where it throws you into a pinball thing where you have to work your way up the giant pinball board to get to the top, good luck, because if you can't make it out of this, if you remain stuck here and you can't, whack yourself up to the top and get out or whatever happens, then you are stuck here. You can't just die and just go back to the main level. You are stuck here until you can get through this garbage. And because they just insist on pushing pinball down our throats, they don't allow you to leave. You're stuck. You're being held hostage in this level, in this garbage pinball level. And holy shit.